Jake Paul. I like. Yeah. Hey, I hope y'all keep that same energy when I knock this old man the out.
Listen, I started Jake off and I'm gonna finish him.
As anticipation builds around the clash between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, both boxing insiders and fans have been stepping forward with predictions for the much-discussed matchup scheduled for November 15 in Arlington. British promoter Eddie Hearn has made it clear he likely will not even watch the contest. Despite being an admirer of Tyson, Hearn remains deeply uncomfortable with the fact that the two fighters are separated by 31 years in age.
Don't want to watch one of my all-time favourite fighters, one of my heroes, I guess, in a boxing ring at 55 years of age, physically a shell of what he once was.
Tyson's age has become one of the biggest talking points surrounding the event. No one questions his status as one of boxing's most recognizable names. But the reality is that the peak of his career came roughly 2 decades ago.
So you think that 20 years on, it's okay for him to go back into a ring? Even against Jake Paul, it doesn't matter. Like, Jake Paul, as limited as he is, he can punch. What is he, 26? I just,
Hearn went on to explain that Tyson still presents genuine danger to Paul, even now. His legendary punching power and explosive hand speed remain impossible to ignore. At the same time, Jake enters this fight at the ideal stage of a boxer's career, which naturally gives him a stamina advantage over the veteran. Hearn appreciates the entertainment value and believes the event will attract enormous attention. But the idea of seeing a legend return against a relatively inexperienced opponent leaves him uneasy. In his criticism of Jake, he said,
Paul, good for the boxing. Definitely. He's training, he's sparring, he's dedicating himself to the sport. But fight a fighter. Don't fight a 55-year-old man who's shot and used to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. It's a circus, but circus sells.
From a business standpoint, this matchup is expected to be enormous. Some projections place the revenue around $300 million, with viewership likely reaching massive numbers. Even so, Hearn believes that committed boxing purists are unlikely to feel genuine excitement over a spectacle like this. That skepticism is not isolated either, as Dana White shares a similar stance.
Tyson's 58 years old, you know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and who was also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-old.
Jake Paul first became known as a controversial YouTube personality before turning his attention toward boxing. White's criticism centers largely on the level of opposition Paul has faced. Although Jake has collected wins and knockouts, none of the names on his resume have been established professional boxers. Because of that, many observers question the legitimacy of those victories. Addressing that issue, Dana said,
Guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo. I'm just saying what he. That's what he.
Hear you. Then why is he not fighting Canelo?
Canelo. I don't think Canelo wants to waste his time.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a fucking 30-second payday for Canelo. So.
White believes this may become the most significant fight of Jake's career, but mainly because the opponent is Tyson. In his view, Jake needs this moment after falling short against a fighter closer to his own level, and a victory here would help restore some lost credibility. Even while insisting Tyson should not be fighting again, Dana still ranks him among the greatest ever. The bout was originally planned for July, but had to be postponed until November because of Tyson's health concerns, which only intensified the debate around whether this fight should be happening at all. Michael Jai White also weighed in. Having spent years around elite fighters such as John Jones and Michael Bisping, White's experience gives weight to his analysis. Sharing his thoughts on the upcoming contest, he said,
It'd be a little much for Jake Paul because, I mean, Jake is not that much bigger. I mean, Tyson was always used to much bigger guys. And when I just think about what's Jake Paul going to do if Tyson hits him in the body? I just don't think he's ready for that.
I think the only thing Jake is probably...
At his peak, Tyson inspired fear unlike almost anyone else. His raw aggression, crushing body shots, and finishing instincts allowed him to dismantle elite, battle-tested opponents. Jake, by comparison, has not yet faced anyone remotely near that level. White emphasized that the gap in ring experience between the two men is enormous.
Somebody who's thrown that punch a million times, it's just different. I remember sparring with Layman Brewster one time, and
Tyson's comfort and instincts inside the ring remain a major factor. His body shots alone have historically been capable of breaking down even durable opponents, which makes many people curious to see how Paul reacts under that kind of pressure. Tyson has shared the ring with countless notable names over the years, but before looking ahead, it is worth remembering the last man who faced him in an exhibition, Roy Jones Jr.
I don't feel for Mike how old he is. Mike is a very rugged guy. You know, when I was in there with Mike, Mike still was hard to hit, and Mike still can hit hard as hell. So, no reason to really fear for Mike. The only thing I fear for Mike is like if the fight goes beyond 4 or 5 rounds, then it could get problematic for Mike because of his age.
A large number of analysts believe the early rounds will be the most dangerous for Jake. Tyson is expected to be especially threatened at the start, while the later rounds could become more difficult for him physically. If Tyson can neutralize Jake's power before fatigue becomes a factor, he gives himself a serious path to victory. For Paul, the challenge is simple but brutal. Survive Tyson's explosive bursts through the opening 4 or 5 rounds. On that subject, Jones Jr. said,
Real question, how much can Jake survive? That's the real question. Because Mike has what it takes to get anybody out of there. And I'm going to tell you this. When I boxed him 4 years ago, it was only 2-minute rounds, but surprisingly, he never really declined. He stayed the same the whole fight. And that's surprising.
When Roy Jones Jr. fought Tyson in 2020, he came away believing Tyson still carried respectable stamina over the course of the contest. That matters because, despite his age, Tyson may still possess enough strength and endurance to overwhelm a novice opponent like Jake. Jones suggested that if Tyson lands cleanly, Jake could be in real trouble. At the same time, he does not necessarily think Paul would remain in the fight long enough for sustained punishment to create lasting damage.
I don't think Jake will take, like what really does damage is the repetitiveness. When a guy keep getting hit over the rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds, still getting hit with the same shots. Mike punches so hard that you're not going to take his shots 2 rounds in a row or 3 rounds in a row. That's not happening. Therefore, no permanent damage.
Jones Jr. even compared Tyson to a pit bull. Speaking about his former rival, he described him as a fighter who flips a switch once engaged, someone who instantly becomes dangerous the moment the action begins. Former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen has raised a very different concern. He is not fully convinced Tyson is preparing with the level of seriousness required for a man of his age to face a younger, hungry opponent. Tyson training clips have impressed many fans and made him look intimidating, but Sonnen remains skeptical. According to Sonnen, if Tyson were truly deep into a demanding camp, there would likely be trainers, sparring partners, or conditioning coaches speaking publicly about the work being done. Instead, he sees mostly controlled footage, a studio, a heavy bag, short clips, but very little confirmation of a complete training team. That matters because Tyson's biggest vulnerability is not skill, power, or experience. It is age. If endurance has not been developed properly, Jake could benefit simply by dragging the fight out. Sonnen also warned about the bigger picture. If Tyson steps in there and gets overwhelmed by Jake, it would leave many fans disappointed and make future spectacle-driven matchups far harder to sell. A growing number of people already believe these uneven contests are designed more for attention and large paydays than for competitive integrity. When poorly handled, they risk damaging boxing's credibility. The face-off before the fight only added more tension. Tyson threw playful punches, while Jake generated even more headlines after footage surfaced of him dropping a sparring partner. That immediately revived the argument that youth may ultimately be his most important advantage. Even Jake's former sparring partner, Anthony Taylor, admitted the outcome is difficult to read. In his view, Tyson remains dangerous no matter how old he is. Taylor explained the situation clearly. If Jake dominates Tyson, many people will simply point to Tyson's age and say the result was inevitable. If Tyson crushes Jake, the reaction will be that Mike Tyson was never someone to take lightly. Either way, the debate will continue, and that is what makes this fight so compelling. No matter who wins, people will keep talking about it. It will draw attention regardless of the result. Both men also have plenty at stake. Tyson is protecting a legendary reputation in what amounts to his first genuine fight in more than 20 years. A bad loss could alter how people remember him. Jake, meanwhile, has a chance to elevate his standing by beating one of the most iconic names the sport has ever seen, even if that icon is long removed from his prime. Former lightweight champion Anthony Crolla shares that view. He pointed out that Jake has been actively competing over the last several years, while Tyson's only recent appearance was the exhibition against Jones Jr. in 2020. That means many expectations surrounding Tyson are based more on memory than present reality. Crolla believes the matchup carries genuine risk because nobody truly knows what version of Tyson will show up. He looked impressive against Jones. Jake is entering the ring without knowing whether he is facing a dangerous veteran or a diminished former champion. That uncertainty could turn the fight into either an easy night or a painful mistake. mistake. Others have echoed a similar sentiment. This could either be difficult viewing, or Tyson could simply walk straight through Jake, which would undoubtedly please a lot of traditional boxing fans. While many boxing legends worry about Tyson's health, some are equally concerned for Jake if Tyson's power still translates. That warning even came from one of the rare men who defeated Tyson in his prime, Lennox Lewis. When even former conquerors speak highly of Tyson's danger, it says a lot. Lewis warned Jake about Tyson's ability to deliver heavy body shots and powerful punches upstairs. For him, the real question is whether Tyson can still bring that violence into the ring on fight night. Lewis has also said he plans to be there because the event promises genuine excitement. He even shared a simulation on Instagram imagining the fight ending quickly. Jake entering the ring, the opening bell sound, and Tyson flattening him with a single right hook in the second round. Tyron Woodley, a former opponent of Jake Paul, offered a more balanced prediction. He called it a very even matchup. While he remembers Tyson in his prime as something close to attempted murder inside the ring, he also admits the age factor cannot be ignored. Speaking about Jake, he said,
Jake's always on a win-win situation. He's fighting guys that if he lose, you lost to this guy, you lost to Tyron, you lost to Anderson Silva, you lost to Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz or whatever.
Okay.
So he's always in a position where if he wins, he goes up. If he loses, it's like, okay, he took a risk, he took a chance. So
Woodley plans to attend the fight and support the sport, but more than anything, he wants to see which version of each man shows up. In his view, Tyson's muscle memory alone still makes him dangerous enough to trouble ordinary fighters like Jake. Win or lose, Tyson has already earned lasting respect. Another legend, Bernard Hopkins, also gave his approval to the matchup. Before the bout was postponed, his early reaction closely mirrored Eddie Hearn's when he said,